Live. Everywhere. On netrootsradio.com. David Waldman. Kagro. In the morning. Now, here's David Waldman.
Hey, good morning, everybody. How you doing? It is Thursday, April 2nd, 2026, so we've made it past April Fool's Day, and now we just try and figure out whether we are reading old April Fool's joke headlines or our headline reader has not yet updated. The most interesting thing happened about the least interesting thing, which happened yesterday. The least interesting thing that happened yesterday was a special presidential address to the nation, which, as somebody pointed out, I think probably the best summation of it that I saw, or at least the best summation of the situation that I saw, was somebody saying, 10 years into the Trump era, these guys, the press at this point, have not yet actually figured out. Is our everybody's internet friend Schoolie that I have here saying this. You'd think the press would learn after 10 years that a guy who doesn't shut up is never saving anything for the big speech. There was not going to be news at this speech. And by the way, this is also, I think, probably the 10th time I could put together a list of. I'd have to do some research to track down the last couple of them, but I'm going to estimate it's about the 10th time that Trump has called the press together for some major speech or an address to the nation, or just a major press conference and an announcement, and suckered them every time to have them come and sit down with their little pads, and then he just doesn't say anything, or he repeats his stump speech, or in this case, most people said the last couple weeks of Truth Social posts, just it was the same stuff over and over again, because he's not saving anything, because he blurts everything out, and maybe in part because of his age, but this is sort of something he's always done. But now I think he forgets what he has and hasn't said. And then right away, by the way, after a important address to the nation, right back up in the morning, yelling about singers he doesn't like. So, it's not going well. And we've got theories about that. But I was just sort of startled to wake up to this. I was a little late getting down to the keyboards here and starting everything up, and had a pre-show conference of sorts. We have about 5 seconds where Greg and I say, did you find any stories? Yeah, I did. All right, good. Terrific. Let's go read them. And the conference, we'll report the results of the conference in just a moment. But I'm checking the headlines, and I noticed that when I start up the computer and get everything going, when I open the first couple tabs, the very first tab in the browser, I get the story suggestions, and the second tab, it refreshes, and sometimes I find it looks like the stories are sort of stuck there from when I shut down the computer the night before, and then when I open the second tab, it sort of refreshes and you get the new stuff. So I was startled to find The Guardian, of all places, reporting the news that Trump's speech to the nation had rallied the markets and driven the price of oil downward. And I thought, that's odd, because I recall the rest of the world saying from about 10 p.m. onward that, in fact, stocks were diving and oil prices climbing, because he got on television to reassure the world that everything was under control. And everybody said, oh, it's Donald Trump speaking. I'm not reassured at all. We don't know what's going on, and that makes me nervous, and nervous means bad things for the market usually, which is usually his favorite thing. He loves the market, but he keeps ruining it. But as it happens, he found stockbrokers who said, oh, if I know you're going to ruin it, I know how to play that so that you still make money. So he hasn't stopped anyway. But then upon refreshing, I found that, yes, in fact, most newspapers were reporting the actual news. It was just sort of startling to wake up to that, and I thought, oh my God, this is going to be a hell of a day if the Guardian is reporting, no, actually everything's great, and we're definitely going to be done with Iran in how long? 2 weeks. 2 to 3 weeks. He gave himself a little more wiggle room this time. And all right. Anyway, so he fails to reassure anyone of anything, and we're all very unhappy about that. And I don't know how else to put it, except to say we should absolutely introduce Yeah, well, let's play some. We'll do it newsreel style today, because you won't believe what the president had to say to the nation. And imagine calling everyone's attention to this news conference. It wasn't really an address, and thinking you would be reassured. Everyone, all eyes on me. I know what I'm doing. We're doing a thing. Anyway, I'm mad about singers. A couple hours later, Greg Dworkin is here. He's got real news. It's fine to do newsreel news music for a guy who's still got his wits about him. Good morning, Greg.
Good morning. Oh, I wonder if there's something on Animaniacs that would just fit the mood.
Almost certainly, although I don't have it.
Well, that's another story.
Yes.
So I'm just looking at this. I Googled crude oil futures. I wanted to see what shows up, just like your
it's a crude
introduction
future.
here.
Yeah.
It's a crude way of measuring how the speech went, but this is from 2 days ago, Reuters. WTI, that's West Texas Intermediate, I think. June Brent crude futures settled down on reports that Iran may be ready to end the war. That was 2 days ago. 18 hours ago, oil settles lower as market awaits Trump message. 12 hours ago, oil gains with Brent surging more than 8% as Trump's Iran war speech stokes fear of escalation. 4 hours ago, oil futures, crude rallies after Trump says Iran strikes to continue. Crude rallies. The world is going to hell in a handbasket, and that's called a rally.
But the crude's rally.
Yeah, and then 2 hours ago, oil surges and U.S. stock futures fall after Trump offers no clear timeline to end the war. As a matter of fact, right now, the Dow Jones Industrial Average futures are down 600 points.
Oof. That's quite a bit.
Market opens at 9:30, so it'll open while we're on the show.
Yeah, everybody panic.
And crude oil
don't panic. Sorry.
Is 112. It started at 100 before Trump opened his mouth. Now it's 112, and it could hit 150. It's up 12% today.
Oh, alone. Yeah, that's right. The math is easy on that.
Yeah.
Oh, I believe Trump thinks it's 700,000%.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just like weird stuff. So among the many stories about that ridiculous speech that Trump gave, and I wasn't going to watch it. I didn't want to watch it, but I said, you know what, this is going to be news. I have to watch it. It was only 19 minutes. That was the only saving
I still
grace.
didn't manage to see it. I was cleaning up. It was
but
Seder
I
night,
didn't expect you to watch it, so I sent you a
excellent
20-second video.
Oh.
And there's a couple of things about it I want to point out.
I'm going to pretend I'm not ready, but I'm ready.
Okay.
Yeah.
And before you play the video, I want you to concentrate, and he doesn't say that many words in this video. I want you to appreciate, from listening to it, how tired he is, how listless he is, how low energy he is.
Yes.
And I want you to listen to the word battlefield.
Is that what it is?
Also swift. Swift is another word, but
okay.
if you hear either one of those, but particularly concentrate on battlefield, let's play the tape and we'll talk about it.
All right.
Iran. In these past 4 weeks, our armed forces have delivered swift, decisive, overwhelming victories on the battlefield. Victories like few people have ever seen before. Iran.
Okay.
I mean, the whole speech was like that.
Right.
Everything was, you've never seen this before. You've never heard me say this before. I can't believe anybody ever realized this before I did. I mean, the whole thing was truly, as you pointed out, reading from Truth Social posts.
Yeah.
And let me give you some reactions, then I want to talk about the speech myself.
All right.
Sarah Longwell, this speech is insane. Our president is a lunatic. Also, he sounds like a moron, a real low IQ individual. Don't be numb to how crazy this is. Sonny Bunch, this Trump speech is genuinely insane, literal old man ramblings. John Favreau, I'm actually quite glad that primetime viewers are being exposed to the insane Truth Social rants the rest of us have been reading. Rick Wilson, he's utterly awful tonight, weak, impotent, dying in front of us metaphorically and literally.
Yes.
Sonny Bunch again. I know it's pointless to say this, but imagine if Joe Biden had delivered this rambling nonsense.
He almost did.
I'm happy to admit I've got the Trump derangement, but I can't imagine anybody who isn't on his payroll can defend this performance. Well, Mark Levin said, this is the greatest speech ever.
Yeah, see?
Yeah. And then Joe Wiesenthal, futures selling off now, traders deciding they didn't like what they heard.
Well, that's good.
Ground
I'm glad
beef
they made a judgment.
A new all-time high, ground beef.
Brent crude ground beef.
Yeah. Breaking, U.S. oil prices surge above 108 a barrel. And
yes, they went to 112.
It's higher than that right now.
Right.
And then somebody actually annotated the price of oil going up as Trump said specific things in the speech.
Oh.
Which I think was kind of funny.
Yeah, that is odd.
But they were listening. And so, yeah, a couple of things. I think that John Favreau basically has the right of it. It was a ridiculous speech. It did not, shall we say, meet the moment.
No.
He didn't accomplish any of his goals. But I do think, as Tom Nichols has repeatedly said, it's important that networks cover him because they usually sane-wash what he says and make it sound like, this is coherent because if you read it in print, I cleaned everything up and you don't read the slurs.
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, it's
I don't mean slurs insulting people. I mean slurring of his speech.
You have to clarify because they also called people horrible names.
Well, he did. I mean, as part of the speech, I didn't play this part, but it was, we're at war with Iran because Barack Hussein Obama sent them truckloads of cash, and that's why I had to go do this.
Yeah, sure.
Now, if you think anything in those word salad clippings make any sense whatsoever, good luck. But he said that. And so, yeah, it was awful. And I do think it's important that people hear all of that. But also, if you listen to that little clip and you heard the word battlefield,
yes,
he does slur his words.
Yeah.
And, my working theory is the guy had a stroke. They won't tell us. He's on anticoagulants, which is why he bruises all the time, and that's how come he's got makeup on his hands.
Yes.
And when he gets tired at the end of the day, that's when it shows up the most. And so having a speech at night was just stupid to begin with. But none of the people around him have any intelligence whatsoever, and they thought this was a good idea. They didn't try to stop him.
Yeah.
In fact, they said, no, you have to go do this. And it was the predictable disaster anybody with half a brain would have predicted it would have been.
Yeah.
It was just a terrible speech, which did the exact opposite of anything he was trying to accomplish.
Well,
calm the markets?
Perfect for the war, which is also doing the opposite.
Inform the public? No.
Right.
Give the impression of a resolute commander-in-chief who's in charge? Not that one.
No.
So not only are the goals of the war unclear and not being met, but the goals of this speech were unclear and not being met, which is a metaphor for the war.
Yes. I mean, it sums it up nicely. It'd be interesting. I was just sort of thinking as you were saying what a disaster it was. That had I don't know how the networks treated it. I assume they treated it like usual. The president has asked for time. We're all going to give him time. I didn't check, and I don't know what happens on networks anymore because of the nature of television.
They didn't give Biden time when he asked for it because they said, no, it's political. We don't have to.
Right. They don't want to do that. But that's also because Biden never said, and in a way that made it sound like he was going to make life miserable for them. Well, if you don't, then I'm going to take away your broadcast licenses. And he does do that. So I assume they all freaked out and gave him the time. And I'm sure that there were producers I would guess there were some just slapping their foreheads. Why did I do this? Others saying, good, but I'm glad we're doing this because he's an idiot.
Stop right there.
Oh, yeah.
Why were they sorry? Because it wasn't really news or because my buddy just got exposed in a way that I've been trying to hide?
Those are the ones who were happy. The ones who were happy about it. It's good, I'm glad he's doing it. I was like, good, he just got exposed. Then there's another set of people working in television who say, I'm sorry of it because I had a sitcom, which is a mild hit, and I should have been showing that, and this sucks. I don't know if there really were other people saying, no, this is damaging to his presidency and to the United States of America internationally, and I'm sad about that. There aren't any of those
exactly.
producers.
I mean, my boss wants me to protect him, and I failed. That's why they're sorry.
So now, I was wondering whether the people who might have said, had you resisted and said, no, for business reasons, I'm not airing this speech, you could have gotten away with it when they came after you later, like, hey, I did you the biggest favor of all the networks. I didn't show it. My ABC viewers think you're still president. Instead, we have, this deflated basketball on a scarecrow body walking around. Pretty much. The best move for the White House would have been, if everybody had refused to carry it. But unfortunately, Aaron Rubar would have showed us anyway.
Let's play a game. The only way to win is not to play.
Ah, yes. Yeah, and I don't know. It's insane that he still thinks of himself this way. It's easy to convince him. I'm not certain of his mental faculties anymore, whether he even has it together to say, I want to do a speech to the nation, or whether they just say, push him out, put him on a little hand truck like, Hannibal Lecter, but without the mask, and they push him out there and say, talk.
So, I sent you a semi-related, this all has to do with fertilizer and therefore feed and therefore cattle, and therefore the price of ground beef is hitting an all-time high. And what people care about is, gas prices and the price of ground beef, eggs and milk and stuff like that. It's
French toast.
One of the things about gas that Nicole Wallace pointed out yesterday on TV, which is kind of funny when you think about it, is even when you don't stop to fill up, as you're driving, you pass gas stations.
Yes.
And the way they advertise for you to stop in and use them is they give you what gas costs.
Right.
So simply driving and looking out the window means you can't avoid what gas costs, even if you're not filling up at the pump right at that moment and seeing how much it takes out of your pocket.
That's true.
So it's absolutely ubiquitous. You can't get away from it.
Like the stock market ticker on the news channels.
Yeah. So with all of that going on, gas prices matter tremendously. And of course, the people were showing what happened to crude oil futures as Trump was speaking. This ground beef hits a new all-time high is indirectly related because of the price of fertilizer and not being able to get through the Strait of Hormuz and all of that. But it's a daytime sort of thing. And I just was amused by the thought, which isn't real, of imagining ground beef prices tracking during Trump's speech going up as he was speaking, because they are in fact related, but that's just not how the measurement works.
Yeah, it would be interesting
with crude.
Right. If McDonald's had, signs, if their hamburger prices adjusted with the price of ground
the way
beef.
Gas prices do. Maybe in the future that's what we're heading for, right? You pass a McDonald's and it's going to show you how much the hamburger costs.
Surge pricing for hamburgers. Yeah, exactly. Not that it'll affect the McDonald's hamburgers as much on account of there being ground beef and all, but anyway, who knows what else is in there. The price of ground, whatever they're using, goes up also. But yeah, that'd be really interesting. Anything's a possibility with surge pricing for everything. I was pointing out the other day, it's odd to me that we've come out fighting a war. Trump ended up fighting for congestion pricing for the Strait of Hormuz. Everybody now just is saying, yeah, we're going to cut our own deal with the Iranians and take skim a portion of the profits of the massive profits of the oil, particularly now, on the world market prices, off the top as you pass through, pay $2 million to the Iranians, sell the oil for $15 million, and call it a day, and just work around the Americans. They're not our allies anymore anyway. As everybody is now making their own arrangements. So that basically is what happens. Well, it's a congested area. You want to get in and out of the Strait of Hormuz, you're going to have to pay, and you do. Well, work for New York, and it'll work for the rest of the world too.
Absolutely crazy. So we're still adjusting to that awful, awful, awful speech. But, people are going to write about it. We'll have more to say about it over the course of the week as they put their thoughts together on paper.
You won't be able to do it unless, of course, you decide you want to get up early tomorrow and do it. But it's Friday tomorrow. But you're welcome to. If you want, I forgot to play Go Away, Come Back Tomorrow. I could do it today.
Yeah, you can play Go Away, Come Back Tomorrow.
It doesn't mean
come back tomorrow.
That's right. I can say the war is going to be over in 2 weeks. Doesn't mean it is.
Yeah. Hey, let's talk structural procedural stuff.
Okay, whose procedure? Iranian?
House and Senate.
American. Okay.
You may remember, and certainly if you fly, you will remember, there were long lines in the airports, partly because TSA wasn't getting paid. The people that screen you in.
I still
the
don't
skilled
believe
people
they're
that screen
getting
you
paid.
in that can't be replaced by ICE people.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a shutdown in Washington because Democrats refused to pay for ICE after the killings that they did, after the murdering that they did in Minnesota. So Chuck Schumer and the Democrats refused to fund DHS. And the Republicans are mad about it, but figured they'd fold because, number one, Democrats always fold, and number two, conventional wisdom says whoever starts a shutdown always loses. Now, it turns out neither of those things are true.
Right.
But that was the assumption.
Mm-hmm.
So Chuck Schumer and the Democrats held firm.
Yes.
And it was the Republicans that folded.
Yes.
And by unanimous consent in the Senate, John Thune and his goons agreed.
The Thune goon.
The Thune goons.
I like it.
Agreed to give the Democrats what they were asking, which was painted by the neutrals as, well, of course the Democrats lost because they didn't get the reforms on ICE that they wanted. Well, you can't. When you're in the minority and you don't have the votes, it's never going to happen. So sure, that's an ask. That's the reason for why they're doing this, but nobody actually expected that the Republicans were going to do the reforms right away. So Eric Michael Garcia writes, it's not fashionable to say this, but basically Schumer, Jeffries, and the Democratic caucus forced Trump, Johnson, and Thune to tap out. They didn't give an inch, and now Republicans are going to have to go through the meat grinder, which is a second reconciliation bill to get the funding for ICE that they want.
Yes.
And Peter Wolf writes, hatred for Schumer and Jeffries on the left is inversely correlated to how much the critic actually knows about parliamentary procedure and the unglamorous world of day-to-day politicking, which is to say the even less glamorous world of parliamentary procedure is something we talk about here all the time because it's not glamorous, but it is so important. Without understanding what's going on here, you don't know how this is going to go. But if you do understand or has some modicum of understanding, you can pretty much guess what's going to happen next. So there was a pro forma session in the Senate today, and that means that it wasn't a real session. I'm doing this in layman's terms. David will explain when I get it wrong. There's not really a session there. It's just that a couple of guys show up and say, yeah, we're open. Okay, now we're closed. Right. And that's a pro forma session. And that way you don't have to say, okay, well, we have ended the session and we have to start a new session, and that mechanism would start all sorts of bells and whistles that they don't want. It's the opposite of saying, well, today is yesterday because I said this from the chair. You know, they want to control the calendar, they want to control what comes up and what comes down and this, that, and everything else. So they have this pro forma session, and this morning Thune passes by unanimous consent, which is to say the two guys there didn't object, that the continuing resolution that the House sent over about funding DHS, which would be for 60 days, was going to be tabled. That message, I think it's formally called, from the House was not accepted by the Senate, and they tabled it. And by tabling it, the procedure means that the original unanimous consent to fund DHS except for ICE and parts of CBP goes back to the House as originally scheduled. Why that is, I don't know, and I'm not even going to try to explain it, but that's what's going on. So this morning the Senate says, no, we're going to go back to the original plan. We jammed the House. The House says, screw you, we're going to jam you back. The Senate says, ha ha ha, try it.
Doesn't really
and they
work
did,
like that.
and it didn't work. And now the Senate is jamming the House again. So now it goes back to the House, and the House has to do something. And what they have to do is completely murky to me. Procedurally, they too, because they're on recess, pass this by unanimous consent, but if they do that, the right-wing flank will have Mike Johnson's head. But Trump says he wants this to pass so that then they can go ahead and do reconciliation and he can get his money that way, and he's okay with it. And Mike Johnson, if he doesn't do that, is going to have his head handed to him by Trump.
Yeah.
So congratulations, Speaker. Ain't this a fun job?
Yeah, well, Donald Trump is the Speaker of the House. He has said so. Mike Johnson is just, I guess, they need to put somebody in the chair, and Trump is unavailable. He's
he's the Speaker pro tem then.
Yeah, essentially. I mean, he has actually said this, right? Hasn't he told the Republican conference in one of their retreats? I'm pretty much the Speaker of the House too, and everybody, but he is, and yeah, I mean, they can do this, and I guess this is the way for them to get the rest of DHS funded minus ICE, the way the Democrats described they wanted to do it,
which means funding TSA.
Yeah, but without coming back into session. They took 2 weeks off for Passover and Easter and district work period, during which many of them don't go anywhere near their districts or do any work, but they say they do. Like, for instance, Lindsey Graham went to Disney World instead. That's his business, but you just have to decide whether you want to vote for that or not. But this is the way to get this done without calling them back into session. I will point out,
interestingly, by the way, Jared Moskowitz went to his son's basketball game and was the timekeeper.
Oh, that's a nice way to use your time off.
Well, that's the point, really. And Republicans in the House are saying this is what a real father does. I'm saying that because Lindsey Graham, who doesn't have kids, went to Disney World.
Yes, I mean,
and the guy with kids actually went to be with his kids.
Yes, that's true. Now, you could go with your kids, or your brother's kids, your sister's kids, your cousin's kids to Disney World. He didn't, but whatever.
That's what we used to say: rent a kid and go to Disney World.
Yeah, right. Or rent a dog for the pictures if you need to. All right. Well, I got a little bit more to say about this procedurally, but I will do it because of procedure after we recess, subject to the call of the chair.
Hi, Kagro in the Morning listeners. This is Rebecca Romans, longtime listener and longtime supporter of the show. Do you love your non-corporatized, completely independent, commercial-free Kagro in the Morning show? Do you stand out among the crowd at the office water cooler when discussing current events because of all the up-to-the-minute news you've been brought by David Waldman? Then it's time to give back a little. David relies on contributions from listeners like you and me to keep this show on the air. Patreon.com is among the easiest ways to make secure recurring monthly donations to support the show. Patreon.com/KagroX will bring you straight to his donation page, where you can sign up for any convenient tier you like. A mere $5 a month. You'll never miss it. Works out to about 25 cents a show. That means that David is making 12.5 cents an hour, which, by coincidence, is exactly what the GOP wants to lower the federal minimum wage to. Once again, David is ahead of the curve. If Patreon.com doesn't sound like your kind of thing, there's always PayPal, or even the Square Cash app. Any way you choose to donate, please choose to donate. And thank you on behalf of David and the rest of us listeners. Thank you very much.
All right, welcome back now to the Kagro in the Morning Show here on Netroots Radio. We're recalling the House into session here. The thing that occurs to me that I think is really interesting, well, this is the way for them to fast-track this procedure and reopen DHS minus ICE without coming back into session. Everybody gets to stay where they are, go to basketball games, go to Disney World, go to trips around the world, whatever you happen to be using your time for. And whatever. Right now we don't examine what they're doing with themselves. We can think about that later. But suffice to say, they're entitled to do whatever they want with their time, and voters have to decide whether it was a wise use of time. But they rarely, if ever, pay any attention to that, even when it's a campaign commercial later on. Right. They don't care.
Well, TMZ, the gossip site, has sworn that they're going to follow and track all of the Congress people to find out what they're doing with their free time. And so, yeah, it's going to be public now.
I guess so. And they're pretty adept at making people who typically don't care about these things pay attention. I don't know how much footage they're really going to get, because nobody knows what their member of Congress looks like.
Well, they're the ones that found Jared Moskowitz, and that only made him look good, so I'm not sure they're going to continue it.
Right. All right. So that won't help. But I guess they needed material. And I don't know why they weren't so happy with their usual celebrity stuff. But
before you get to the Senate House, I want to mention something about the Senate, and that is that Mike Lee, Senator, has a very big mouth. And keeps saying that I object to every single thing that John Thune is doing with this stupid DHS bill. We should be funding DHS and ICE. We should triple ICE funding. We should do everything we can to kick millions of people out of the country yesterday. And I don't understand why we're doing this. How can we do this? And besides, you have to pass the Save America Act, and it's not part of this, and I don't understand it. And fine. Okay. The point is, Thune had this pro forma session, and it was passed by unanimous consent by a couple of dudes because Mike Lee wasn't there, and he could have objected, and he didn't.
That's right. And so it will be important to know what he's doing with his time, because he could have spent it elsewhere objecting to this very important thing. He didn't object to the first one
either, so he's like FOS.
In addition to which, I would say that behind the scenes, what we won't see is they very rarely will do any substantive business during a pro forma session. It's kind of one of those, we can, but it's simply not done, because for good reason, people feel like you might be trying to pull a fast one on them. I'm out of town and you're asking unanimous consent, and I'm not there to object. And leaders know this, and they know that is looked upon askance, I guess we'll say it that way, by their membership. So in the Senate, it's of course a matter of conferring with, in this case, 52, 54 Republican senators. Easier to do on the phone tree than the 200 Republicans in the House. Plus, the loonier ones are in fact in the House. It's harder to get them on the phone, and when they get on the phone, they just so who knows how to interpret what they're telling you. But what this means is they confer behind the scenes first. And they say, if we're going to do something unusual like this, a unanimous consent request to do substantive business while we're in a pro forma session, I need to let you know what's going on. I will give you a heads up, which means there was a phone conversation. Mike, we're going to bring this thing to the floor. We're going to do it during the pro forma session. Do you have any objection? I know you're not here to do it, but because I know how poisonous it is inside the conference, if I sneak it by you, if you say you object, but you want to object from Disney World, from the ski slopes, from the French Riviera, just say so, and I'll stop, or I'll tinker with the thing, or I'll give you a concession, or we'll rewrite the thing so that nobody feels put upon by all of this, so that when we get back, we're all still on the same page and working together. And Mike Lee said, listen, go ahead and do it. I'm going to put out a statement that says I'm furious, but go ahead and do it. Okay.
Right.
That's how that worked. So they did that. Then
I'm crafting my statement that I am spontaneously furious.
Right. And so, listen, that's fun, and that's the job where this is the part where Thune deals with what Schumer deals with. I'm the lightning rod. You will tell everybody that I caved. You're standing strong, etc. But you're standing strong from wherever the hell you are. I'm standing weak, but here in the Senate. And I don't know really whether the Thune may also say, well, one, what Mike Lee doesn't affect me here in my seat doesn't matter. I'm fine in my state. And two, they may very well say, if you want to go ahead and say that, you're the strong one from the beach and I'm the weak one in the Senate doing the work while you're on vacation, I guess go ahead. But
yeah. So anyway, I interrupted you. It goes back to the House. Now the House has to figure out what to do with this.
They have to do the same thing, essentially. Right. And Mike Johnson has to say, okay, 200 idiots, including Anna Paulina Luna, Chip Roy, whoever else.
The lady from Indiana who changes her mind every 15 minutes, right. Whose name I can never remember.
Yeah.
Victoria Spartz.
Something like that. And
he's got to corral these people.
Can I do this by unanimous consent? And they may say no.
Let's get Nancy Mace, Victoria Spartz,
right.
Anna Paulina Luna, all to agree, Chip Roy, all to agree
Lauren
to the same thing.
Yeah. And they're not going to be able to read it or understand it. So, I don't know. They may voice objection. But on the other hand, the House is sort of a different animal in a lot of ways, and the House Speaker is a lot more powerful inside the chamber than any of the Senate leaders. And at the moment, the word is that Donald Trump wants the Senate deal. He switched sides. He said, the Senate offered their deal. He said, I like that deal. The House lunatics said, no, we don't think that's MAGA-y enough. And he said, oh, yeah, that's right. I'm for that. And then they said, well, then you're not going to get any funding for DHS, and we can't move off of this bill. We can't move on to the voter suppression thing that you want to do. Oh, yeah, right. I'm for the Senate thing. So for the moment,
just don't forget, I'm not going to sign anything until the SAVE Act passes.
Right. So now so that's important, because the new position is, all right, I'll sign this though. I mean, I love that. I saw the announcement go out yesterday with the here's how the parliamentary procedure is going to work, and blah blah blah, and this and that and the other thing. Everybody focused on that, and then the little line at the end that says, and President Trump is expected to sign it. No, President Trump is not expected to sign it. I mean, he is expected to sign it, but he shouldn't be. It shouldn't be recited that way. He's expected to sign it. He has made a bold and broad and very patriotic and strongly strung declaration that he won't sign anything until the Save America Act is passed. Unless I want that thing and it gets passed first. Then in that case, I will sign it. Of course, it also doesn't matter whether he signs it or not. I don't know if he's actually aware of that trick. I don't care whether he knows or not. But that's my big LOL. Everyone else was having a great time at the procedure. And for once, my issue is not with the parliamentary procedure. It's with that dumb guy said he wasn't going to sign anything. And I knew he was lying when he said it. And we all should have said so. And now, look, there it is. He's going to sign it anyway. And everybody should laugh in his face, but from a distance, because I understand he smells bad. So it's fun all around. The procedure is interesting. The behind the scenes part, I think, is the more interesting, and it won't get reported much or discussed much, but there's really no other way to do this, because if you actually did sneak it by and just said, unanimous consent, nobody's here, bye, they'd be furious. They'd come back and kill you. This way they do it, and they say, I will tell everybody in the press that I hate your guts. Yes, but you'll let it happen? Yep. That's the deal that just got made. You get to be mad, I get to finish the work. That's the bargain.
So what's interesting to me about all of this is watching how badly Mike Johnson runs the House, how badly Donald Trump runs this war, how badly the Republican Party is doing in every single poll. I mean, we're talking about the Republican Party, Donald Trump's favorability, job approval, now in the mid-30s. That's like really bad. Average. Yeah. In the mid-30s. Not being propped up by the Republican pollsters like Insider Advantage and, Harvard Harris that don't know what they're talking about.
Are they on recess? What's happening to those
even
guys?
With them, they're still in the mid-30s.
Okay.
So, I'm watching the mouthpieces, toadies, and other paid trolls from the Trump administration and outside the Trump administration, the so-called influencers. Click this link and like this comment. Having to deal with the fact that Trump's speech, for example, yesterday was universally panned. It was terrible. Accepted as such. That is, job approval is awful. And somehow or other, they have to, make lemonade out of lemon. And it's just really weird watching. Probably the most famous example at this point is Laura Ingraham, who said, none of this is Trump's fault because we don't know that he was briefed properly. And then she added, and we're not even sure he fully comprehends and understands what he was told.
Yeah.
That's her way of apologizing for what Trump is doing. That's astounding.
Yep. Yeah. It's.
And how are the others are going to react? And that was before the speech.
Yeah.
Now what?
Right. True. Yeah. Oh, I hadn't really even factored that in. And I mean, I guess it's still. I'm trying to think whether that causes any of them to say in the House, the Senate, it'll be too late to withdraw their agreement to allow this thing to. I don't think so. I think they just want that off the table and to move on to something else. But I mean, and I guess we don't know any of the other agreements that might be operating somewhere. There might be some people who say, I will go along with, because there are Republicans out there who, you know, who consider themselves so MAGA that they don't agree with the war and have a base that wants to get
the Marjorie Taylor Greens who are no longer in Congress.
Right.
I think that.
Yeah, right, exactly. It is rather convenient. That's interesting, too. I still am confused by her resignation. And I wonder whether, you know, did she have any inkling that we're going to do this thing in Iran, and she's just like, gosh, I'm not going to be able to reconcile this at all. I just don't want to be there. I'm just going to quit.
Well, she did it over Epstein, but it's the same concept. And,
right.
you know, she's clearly, positioning herself for a post-Trump MAGA world.
Right. I guess so. I mean, as foolish as that is, because there won't be one. So, I don't know. But, yeah, she definitely took the better path there, except for, you know, I could be principled and stand up and actually do something, but nah. You know, that's hard. I don't want to do that. I like doing YouTube influencer work and go do that instead. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's moving too quickly for anybody in the House to put two and two together. I imagine that they'll.
Well, they don't. I mean, ever since your candidate in a box explanation, and since that time, they don't have the muscle memory and reflex to put anything together. Mm-hmm. They do what they're told, and that's it. Yep. I'm sending you Marjorie Taylor Greene's latest tweet, just so you can see where she's at on this.
Yes.
And I quote, I wanted so much for President Trump to put America first. That's what I believed he would do. All I heard from his speech tonight was war, war, war. Yeah. Nothing to lower the cost of living for Americans. Nothing to reduce $40 trillion in debt. Nothing to save Social Security, which goes bankrupt in a few years. Nothing to lower the cost of insurance. Nothing to address jobs for Americans. And the job market is awful. We're entering recession. Nothing about education for our children. Nothing about our children's future. Nothing for America's future. I'm so beyond done. I pray for our military and their families and innocent people all over the world. I pray for peace and prosperity for all. And she could have just added, thank you for your attention to this matter.
Pretty much. Yeah. Well, I'm so done with this. I know. And guess what? We're so done with you. You aren't a person of influence anymore. And no more vote for you. So
right. Now,
who cares?
There are people who are influencers, quote unquote. That's their job. That's what they get paid by the Russians to do. And they are, in fact, starting to break the Joe Rogans of the world, the Tucker Carlsons of the world. Well, they don't have all that much influence, but they do. You know, what's happening is that MAGA Republicans are sticking with Trump, but there's fewer and fewer of them.
Yes, but 100% of them.
I would say less of them. That's also true, but the technical term is fewer of them. And so, yeah, MAGA's 100% for Trump. That's because there used to be 1,000, now there's 100. Just look at CPAC.
Yeah.
People used to attend CPAC. Now they don't.
Yeah. I don't know what was going on there. And I was very happy to see a lot less interest in it, a lot less coverage of it, too. And I was only barely aware that it was happening, which is usually unavoidable. Right. And it's right here in the D.C. area. Still don't know.
Yeah. Oh, you didn't get complimentary tickets?
No. I got
the whole family. This will be fun.
No. I haven't seen anything about it. So, except I did see somebody very bravely interview Greg Bovino. Was it the guy from The Good Liars? One of those prankster interview guys. Interviewing Greg Bovino, and this guy is a good 6 inches taller than Bovino, and he did you see he crouched down to interview him at the same level, like right in his face, but then just asks him, "What's your name?" And he tells him Greg Bovino, and so what do you do, or what did you what was your most recent employment? And he answers the question, and he just says, "Okay, thanks, bye." Doesn't actually ask any questions. Where he was just doing it to crouch down in his face, and I think at the last second it clicks to Bovino. 1, he's crouching down. 2, I'm not like legally allowed to punch him in the face anymore.
Right.
Damn.
Well, listen, I want to give you a palate cleanser here.
Okay.
All right. And this is an image from Planet of the Apes.
Okay. Let's click.
And
I have to click like 5 things to go see this. Yes.
No, I'm just sending it to you, so you don't even have to click.
No, I have to click.
But the comment that goes with it is, now that Artemis II is launched, we have 10 days to get everybody on Earth a Planet of the Apes costume so we can do something fun when they get back.
Yeah, that was a big deal too. And then, what time was that launch versus
6:45?
Okay, so you could move from one to the other. That would have been a great competition. But I remember seeing it and then not seeing the speech, but I don't know whether, that was because I was paying attention to something better or I just turned off the TV at that point.
Oh, I'm sending you another one, by the way, because I just think, it's just fun. You have to, lighten up a little bit. So it's a picture of the interior of Artemis II. It is packed with KitKat boxes.
I see. Yeah, that's a story we didn't get to, but everybody must have known about it by now. Where did it happen? The hijacking of the KitKat
between
truck?
Poland and Italy.
Who even knew that there were
12
KitKat
tons
shipments
of KitKat bars was stolen.
Right.
And in a absolute eruption of corporate social media, everybody had something to say about the stolen KitKat bars, some of which were absolutely hysterical. I actually put aside some of these.
Oh, all right.
So I could tell you a little bit about them, and I will try to find them and then send them to you. First is the official statement from KitKat.
Yes.
Right? Which, let's see if we can get this here, which says, we can confirm that 12 tons of KitKat products were stolen while in transit between our factory in central Italy and their destination in Poland. We are working closely with local authorities and supply chain partners to investigate. The good news, there are no concerns for consumer safety and supply is not affected. Thank you. This is a official statement, white letters on a red background with the KitKat logo at the top.
This is serious because
So this is serious stuff. I mean, this is not April Fool's stuff, like you would have thought it was.
Yeah.
However, what then happened is that all of the corporate social media accounts started to pick up. Yeah, brands started to pick up on this. And I'll send you a couple, for example, Domino's. Official statement. We would like to share our thoughts and condolences with KitKat following their recent sad news. On a completely unrelated note, we're pleased to announce we'll now be selling a new KitKat pizza.
Okay. But that seems
I mean, there were
false.
just tons of these.
Yes.
They were absolutely hysterical. And I cannot remember such a coordinated effort among brands to take advantage of this. Everybody had something. And so it was being shared on social media. And this was what people were talking about instead of Trump, because, they're sick of Trump.
Yeah, well, Trump was born. Oh, Denny's has an official statement.
Denny's official statement. We would like to make one thing clear. Whatever happened to those KitKats happened between 1:30 and 4 a.m., and we were busy for the questions.
Okay, sure. Right. Oh, by the way, we should check into whether they were at any point teleported to a Waffle House. What do they have to say about that?
Right,
that could have happened. All right. Well, that's an awful lot of KitKats. And so where? Between Poland and where?
Italy.
Italy?
Yeah.
Where were they made? Like, are they making them in Italy and shipping
they're making
them
in
to
Italy,
Poland,
central Italy, and they were being sent to Poland.
Very interesting. The world market in KitKats. Brent Crude KitKat, the benchmark, I guess.
Now,
Light, sweet,
Yeah. Are you aware of Toblerone?
Sure.
Can you picture the shape of the box that Toblerone typically comes in?
Yes. Prismatic.
Well, yeah, it's like a triangle.
Yeah.
So
but 3D.
Right under the Denny's thing, I sent you a tweet, so you should open it up and look at it.
Okay. Yeah. Toblerone. Now I'm hungry. So, all right, let's see. Here we go. Look at that.
So it's a picture of a triangle train,
Yeah.
And says, now that after KitKat heist has worked, we found the perfect transport for the Toblerone heist. So, the fact that the KitKat showed up in Artemis II, it's just, it's everything.
Yeah. The train, I mean, I don't know where this is, but it's shaped like the Toblerone box, but is it was it easier to dig a triangular tunnel? Is that why we're using a triangular train?
I don't know. Listen, all I know is that people make a lot of statements about social media, but sometimes it's just absolutely invaluable. I'm just saying.
Yeah. All right, it'll get you through any sort of tough news. Right, all that KitKat gone. What happens to the chocolate futures when that happens? And where do you get rid of all those KitKats?
Well, as somebody noted, the perpetrator who stole all the KitKats, is at large and getting larger.
I guess so. I was going to ask how many Polish KitKat thieves did it take to do this, but I'm not certain that it was on the Polish end where they were stolen. Just somewhere between the two countries.
Somewhere between the two countries, right? So
Austria.
I'm sending you the official statement from Colgate.
Yes, Colgate.
Just in case anybody has been eating a lot of chocolate, like 12 tons of it, and needs to brush, there's a shipment of Colgate toothpaste traveling from Italy to Poland next week. Low security. The driver is known to take long pit stops and leaves the keys in the ignition. Do whatever you want with this information.
Wow. I think
that's great.
That's a silly position to be taking.
Best one I've seen so far.
Yeah, not bad at all. All right, so it's an exciting time in Central Europe for hijacking and having a good time talking about it.
Right.
All right, it's very good news. I know everybody's talking about it. It's the new balloon boy thing, and everybody's into it. It's fun. Well, I don't know what the Congress is going to do about it. Apparently nothing. I happened to see, though, one of the things that you sent, I was weirded out by it as we were talking about the parliamentary procedure, and because I now have Twitter open as a result, I noticed that there was a trending topic that was sine die, the terminology for
Indiana?
Is that what's... I don't know what's...
I don't know.
I clicked on it and it didn't tell me anything because it's Twitter and nothing works.
Oh, the thing that's sine die that I saw was something about Indiana reaching that point, and Trump was trying to put pressure on the people who had voted for ignoring his suggestions about redistricting, and so he was really pissed, and this, that, and everything else, and what happens now, and what if they defy him, and yada, yada, yada. But that's where I saw
I just was amazed that would
pass my eyes.
It would end up on a trending topic list. It's gone now. Now it's replaced by, I don't know what, Kirk Cousins and April Fools. So, but I was wondering what that might be. But I guess all the state legislatures are getting ready to adjourn sine die, and that's a
1 hour ago, sine die, last day of legislative session arrives for Georgia General Assembly.
So it's happening everywhere, I guess. Or not everywhere, but in a lot of states at the same time, which I guess is what accounts for it trending. I did see the other day somebody making a very good suggestion about states ought to be passing legislation that I can't recall exactly what it was, but basically saying maybe to countermand this one of Trump's latest executive orders where you got to give me all your voting lists or whatever it was. And saying states ought to be, and it was, I think it might even have been a different topic, but the states ought to be scrambling to pass state legislation to make sure that it wasn't left to federal devices that Trump could manipulate. And I just wanted to point out that although it was a great idea, most state legislatures are part-time legislatures, and they have, in fact, with the exception of those doing it today, adjourned sine die and won't be back for about a year. So even though you have this terrific idea and still have time that you could be contemplating it, the actual legislators will not be on hand to do it. And so for the why don't you just-ism crowds, here again, procedure important to note. They don't work around the calendar year like Congress does. They're not always there. And although it was a great idea to pass this legislation, whatever it might have been, you're not going to see it happen. And it's not because Israel told them not to do it. It's because they're not in session anymore, and they never are. So just wanted to point that out. If I can see if I can find that post, it was a couple of days ago. It's going to take a lot of scrolling to find it. But anyway, just thought it was important.
I got one from Georgia. It just says basically, we who are about to sine die salute you.
How did they? Everybody has learned the terminology. Everybody's talking parliamentary procedure these days, and I credit us.
Yeah, well, I credit you. I didn't know anything about this, and I still don't, but I know how to make the words sound like I do, so you can explain them, which is my job on the show. So I really have a good time with this.
Okay. Yeah. Well, good. I'm glad you're enjoying it, but you won't be enjoying it for much longer because your time is coming to an end, unless you just want to hang around all day long.
Die. Right?
Yeah. Okay.
Well, at least for this week, no scheduled further appearances, which is, what the term means.
Yes, unless Trump gives another speech and something really crazy happens, in which case, you're welcome to come on and reflect. Yeah, I will come back tomorrow
if Trump does something truly outrageous.
Yeah, and I mean, the bar is way too high for that. So I think you're probably safe, but you literally can never know.
You never know.
All right. Oh, while you're here, I'll just say one thing that you might want to reflect on. I wanted to give credit to Matthew Gertz, who is not Matthew Gaetz, at Media Matters, who...
The good Gertz.
Yes, relevant to your first round of commentary, says he's re-upping his unpopular opinion, as he says. Unpopular opinion reconfirmed now that House Republicans are following Senate Republicans and folding. Chuck Schumer deserves credit for keeping his caucus in line. This is something he said about a week ago, saying that's going to be unpopular, but the truth is everybody loves to attack him, but he actually played this one right, and you're going to have to give him credit, even though you may want him replaced as majority leader. Sure, fine, somebody else might have been able to do something differently, but credit where credit is due. And I thought you might appreciate that. Well called, Matthew Gertz, not Gaetz.
Nice. And one last thing here. The House acknowledged the Senate sends the bill back. The House doesn't have the support to unanimously approve the bill, and it's not because of Democrats. That's Mariana Sotomayor writing this morning. So that's where things stand.
Okay, so it waits until they come back regardless, because a crazy has told Mike Johnson, I would object and I'll make trouble for you. And he said, I think you can make trouble for me, so I won't do it. That's it. That's the only way to read that one. All right. Thanks, Greg. Go away and come back next week. All right. Welcome back, everyone, to the Kagro in the Morning Show here on Netroots Radio. So I guess that settles it. I'm going to take a look at what Greg had sent along, but I guess the House has made it clear that they are not going to accept the Senate version of the CR, funding DHS minus ICE in order to make it work. Oh, look at that. For some reason, did they delete the Mariana Reports tweet here that was meant to confirm that the House was not going to go along has been either deleted or else I got waylaid in clicking on it. But I bet we'll find confirmation. I should make a note about that. How shall I even write this now? I'll say House. I was going to write House rejects Senate message, but it's too long, so I just wrote House rejects, and then I was like, that just reads as House rejects. I don't know if I'm going to be able to determine what that means later on, but all right. My guess is that leaves things as they are, status quo, until the end of the Easter Passover recess a week and a half from now. And, honestly, at this point, I guess it does leave open the question of why are we paying the TSA agents and how, again, and that gives us more time to ponder what it means and how generally dangerous it is to just wave this through, even though that's another interesting political examination. How is it possible that there's valid legal and constitutional objections to paying these guys, but we're going to let Donald Trump continue to claim that he has the power to do this and claim credit for it, even though it really endangers a lot of the federal financial structure. This is just openly presidential orders to the Treasury, pay money out for which there's no statutory authority. Just do it. It says right in the Constitution you can't, but I'm telling you to go do it anyway. And one, Congress is on recess and not in a position to do anything about it. And two, who's going to step up and say, that's right, stick it to the TSA agents again, stop paying them? Nobody. No elected official is going to make that their business. So this is rough. But in the meantime, those of you who, or like the entire country or the entire world, because everybody's finances are tied to ours. If it turns out that there's no actual legal control over Donald Trump, of all people, just emptying the Treasury on his say-so, what does that mean for anything? For the value of the dollar, for your FDIC insurance, for your government loans, for your government bonds that are guaranteed to be paid to you by law and by the Constitution, except there's no cash to do it with. Now, I guess it would be a bigger problem if we weren't also a fiat currency where you could then say, well, we have more cash. We do. But how does that help with inflation in an era where the price of ground beef is competing with the price of a barrel of oil? We can't answer these questions, and don't expect the President of the United States to be able to do it either, because he doesn't know what's going on. However, he can tell you about the color of the curtains in the ballroom he's building, which he now says it isn't really a ballroom anyway. It's just a very glamorous shed on top of a world-class, top-secret military installation, which is somehow also being paid for by private donations, and there won't be a dollar or even a dime of taxpayer money in it, which I think is also probably a lie. And that too, we won't straighten that out. One of those other areas where it's so confusing and dumb that it's like the press is refusing to parse these words and to split these hairs when he says, not a dime of taxpayer money is being used to pay for the ballroom, but a multi-billion-dollar structure is being built underneath the ballroom. And I'm not telling you anything about how that's financed, because it's top secret, which sort of suggests, well, that the government is financing it, which means you're paying for it. But no, and I don't know. So far, I have seen no reporting trying to thread that needle and figure out, is the $400 million that he's gotten privately donated, quote unquote privately donated, for the top, or does it include any of the bottom? And this weird claim that this too, by the way, I'm not entirely convinced there really is anything being built underneath. I know there was a bunker underneath the original, the East Wing, but that was a pre-nuclear age FDR bomb shelter style bunker, conventional bomb bunker, to build a modern weapons proof bunker underneath what was the East Wing, what will now be the ballroom, is an enormous undertaking that I don't think $400 million or whatever's left of the $400 million after they build the ballroom is going to cover. That's going to be a several $billion-dollar project. I read a little bit, by the way, about the idea of construction in this area, and don't forget that Washington, D.C. is built on an infilled swamp. There's water table to deal with the bunker underneath the West Wing and underneath the residence, the Situation Room, etc. There is sub-basement secure areas there, but apparently it was an enormously difficult construction project and requires all sorts of constant pumping to keep water out of these aging sub-levels of the White House, and to build new ones even larger and more electronic, more densely packed with electronics, no doubt, underneath what will, it is said, be the ballroom, just might not be possible. But it's also entirely possible that he's just, blowing it out his ass, because it's now a position he has to take in court where there are lawsuits to stop the construction. And so far they've succeeded, although it's being immediately appealed, of course. But I'm not entirely convinced that the idea of this underground bunker thing, which was never really discussed as part of the original plan, if there even was something that could be called a plan for the ballroom, I have a feeling that may have come up not because they were actually building it, but because Trump found out that, well, if we can make a claim that there's a national security issue wrapped up in the construction of this ballroom, then we can use that as a shield against judicial interference with it. You want to build this thing, the National Historic Trust or the National Trust for Historic Preservation or whatever the designation is, can sue to stop you. You don't want to be stopped for various reasons, but the most convincing of them would be if you said there was a national security issue. And there are several. I think it cuts the other way, but I think he originally said, well, it's a national security issue because we're building a space for events so that we don't have to have them outside, and the events inside, because we're going to, he keeps saying, have a drone-proof roof. I don't really know what that even is supposed to mean. I guess, reinforced to withstand the impact of explosives that could theoretically be carried by drones. But I mean, the nature and power and explosive capabilities of drones are just going to change very rapidly, and I don't think there's any such thing as drone-proof anything, because we don't know what kind of drones we're going to be facing. And also, does a cruise missile count as a drone anymore? I don't know. But anyway, so he says this whole thing is secure, and we can have secure events in it, and that's national security. And I got the sense that maybe they didn't buy that in court. That wasn't enough. The fact that you have bulletproof glass in it, I mean, that's a nice idea if that makes you feel secure, but that doesn't render it a national security issue. So no, we're not going to drop this case. So then they said, oh yeah, well, we're going to put a top secret bunker underneath, and that is national security. And that seemed to succeed for a second until the flimsiness of the excuse was made plain in the last round of proceedings, in which the judge said, no, this doesn't count. You're saying it's a national security issue because you're going to build a bunker there, and until the bunker is complete, you're exposed in some way that you'd be safe from if the ballroom was complete. No, that's not a real thing. You don't need it. There's a bunker under the White House already, by the way, and of course several other procedures to remove the president from harm's way in the event of attack. But the fact that you think you're going to build a better bunker, that's nice and all, but you can't say, well, the fact that the bunker is incomplete is the national security issue, because you've created that issue. And also there's no real indication that you actually intend to address it. Anyway, I don't know. I find it all very weird and quite odd, to say the least. Let's see. What have we got here? Scott has just sent me a little note here. Under the East Wing, Matt Gaetz says he was briefed on hybrid race mixing humans and aliens, according to Newsweek. Does that have anything to do with the East Wing? I'm not sure. Matt Gaetz may, in fact, be a hybrid race of humans and aliens. I guess there's that possibility. Oh, we're going to have to look at this. I know this is a big derailment of sorts of the Toblerone train, but here we go. Oh, no, there's 10,000 pop-ups. So we can't read anything. Sorry, Newsweek is not a real magazine anymore. Matt Gaetz says he was briefed on hybrid race mixing humans, aliens. This is published on March 31st, in case you were wondering about it being a April Fool's joke, though it was updated on April 1st. Maybe it was a true story on the 31st, but they turned it into a joke with an update. Jesus Mesa, the politics reporter for Newsweek, says that former Representative Matt Gaetz, the bad one, has said he was briefed by a United States Army member on a secret breeding program between aliens and humans. Why are we, what? Should we be entertaining this? I mean, this is entertaining to us, but I mean, as a country, should we be allowing this to go forward? Should we be complaining to Mr. Newsweek about this? Tim Newsweek needs to be updated. Speaking on right-wing podcast The Benny Show, Gaetz said that a person in military uniform, so you know, that's it. That's the conclusive evidence. The guy was in military uniform. Mm-hmm. A person in military uniform informed him about, quote, hybrid breeding programs where captured aliens were breeding with humans to create some hybrid race that could engage in intergalactic communication. The show was over. I don't know what to say. The military ran a very secret program where aliens that were living in forced breeding programs with humans, this is trafficking, but it's not human trafficking, so it's okay. The alien trafficking, like intergalactic alien, kind of. A forced breeding program with humans that had been abducted from war zones. Wow. And even the caravans of migrants. He said, this is really... like, I don't know. I mean, Matt Gaetz is not, also, like Marjorie Taylor Green, not a person that should be important anymore. But, I mean, I guess you could take a pause and say, wow, this was almost our attorney general. This was his first choice for attorney general. Now, he may not have lost his mind quite in this way if he had been kept busy. And this may be a symptom of his having nothing to do in life. But he's willing, I don't know. All right. So if I understand this correctly, the humans that are being forcibly bred with the captive aliens are people that they're abducting from war zones, and also maybe the caravans of migrants, which suggests that the imaginary problem of migrant caravans is taken care of. But not in a satisfactory way. We were very mad about that. So we want to import you, capture you, breed you with the aliens, and then deport you so that you can't, sue for custody of the babies? There's a race of super soldiers, and if we arm the caravans with them, why, then they'll just invade and take over this country, unless I have a bunker under a ballroom. Okay, there's more. The more quote. Now, I didn't verify this, but what the whistleblower was telling me, the whistleblower, come on, don't be ridiculous, is that there were between 6 and 12 locations around the country where this happened. And what he wanted was members of Congress to all show up at the same time at all of these different locations, so any of those activities could not be moved. Unfortunately, Matt Gaetz is not a member of Congress, so go F yourself. But I guess he's saying he was told this before, that he was. And embedded here, if the pop-ups would leave us alone for 15 seconds, we would be, nope, just not going to happen. So I think that is more of a comment on the quality of the news than anything else. If you're constantly having it covered up by pop-ups, not covered up by, national security claims and hush-hush insistences that you've been briefed, etc. Not that kind of covering up. But, all right. I don't know what to tell you. Here's the Benny Johnson tweet on it, dated March 31st. Matt Gaetz says, if you saw what he saw in Congress on UFOs, you'd question if we were alone. It would not be anything that exists on Earth. I've seen things in classified settings that are not explainable with the technology we know is available. Look at this, adopting the Why It Matters structure from Axios. This ought to make Axios very happy to find out that Newsweek is doing its UFO captive hybrid alien breeding reporting under the same format as they are. And all right, and now it's decided that I've been on the story too long, and they want us to pay $4.99 a month to continue to read this nonsense. So we just won't, because as entertaining as it might be, it doesn't appear to be real news. And it's certainly quoting somebody who's not a real congressman on somebody who's only barely got a real program, Benny Johnson. And I say that as someone who barely has their own real program. So we'll move on from that. Let me read some less fantastical speculation from the internet world, which is also unverified, but sounds a lot more truthy than that thing over there. A thread on Bluesky, as we like to say, from Chris O hyphen, well, in the address, Chris O hyphen wiki, like Wikipedia, but in the screen name it's Chris O _ wiki. Very important to differentiate between the two. Who describes himself in this bio here as independent military history author and researcher. Well, he's put together an interesting thread on the oil and gas situation. And I love this sort of information. I wish I knew better offhand whether it was verifiably true or not. But like I say, sounds pretty truthy. So we want to float this as a possibility. You've certainly heard by now that the blockage or slowdown in traffic, at the very least, in the Strait of Hormuz not only has driven oil prices worldwide up and, of course, finished products, petroleum products like gasoline prices up worldwide, but you've also heard that experts say things like, even if the Strait of Hormuz was opened tomorrow, and I mean, it's open now and it's open tomorrow, and it's just not open to the United States and certain other Western authorities with whom Iran is in conflict, but the number is dwindling as everybody cuts their own deals, which is an amazing development all by itself. But they keep saying, even if it were open tomorrow, whatever that actually means, there would still be supply disruptions. The disruptions to the supply chain are such that the ripple effects will be felt all the way through the rest of this calendar year at minimum. That all of the time that the flow of oil through the straits has been minimized, if not completely choked off, means that the rest of the, I guess, for lack of a better terminology, and no pun intended, the well-oiled machinery out there that turns crude oil into the products we want to pay even more money for, are put in jeopardy when there's a disruption to the flow. And I think Chris's discussion of what happens to oil wells, not just refinery capacity and transportation capacity, all of those things will be disrupted, but just focusing on something else here. Global oil and gas shortages are likely to persist for months. This is something we've heard before, and how he starts this thread. Industry insiders are warning, and this, in part, is due to shut-in or idled wells suffering progressive damage that is becoming increasingly severe as the Iran war drags on, leading to long delays in restarting production. That sounds like it makes a certain amount of sense, but don't worry, there's more explanation to come. And it becomes clearer and clearer the longer you read into this. Oil wells, manage the release of oil and gas that is under great pressure from underground reservoirs. I think we all understand that, right? While they are designed to throttle flow up and down as required and can be shut in, what we would call, offhand. And I think outside of the industry, what happens when you turn off the well? You shut it down. Apparently those are called shut in, not shut down, but shut in. So while these wells are designed for a constant flow, they can be shut in for short periods for maintenance, but they're not designed for indefinite shut-ins. Shut-ins put stress on the well structure, the machinery, and the reservoir itself. The effects include, for one thing, casing and cement degradation, right? When you've built yourself a working oil well and it's got one of those up and down pump things going, and God knows what's happening to the oil, but it's not spraying all over the place or exploding out of the ground. It's managing the flow. And, part of that means putting a cement cap over the well so that the oil doesn't fly all over the place. It goes into the right pipe and goes into the right place where you can sell it and make a lot of money on it instead of wasting it by having it spray all over the place. Those casings degrade over time anyway, but they degrade even faster if you stop pumping. Wells are designed for active production, where fluid movement helps maintain pressure equilibrium. During a prolonged shut-in, differential pressures can build up, putting stress on the casing and cement. Over time, cement can crack or debond, creating pathways for gas or fluids to leak out of the well shaft. There's also the problem of corrosion. Stagnant water in a shut-in well is often highly saline and can be, therefore, corrosive. Without flow to carry corrosion inhibitors or simply to keep fluids moving, tubing and casing can degrade faster than during normal operation. There's also scale and wax buildup inside the piping. Shut-in conditions allow scale minerals or paraffin waxes to precipitate and deposit inside the well pipe, which can complicate restarts and damage equipment. At worst, a wax plug can completely block a well. And there's a little cross-section of pipe here showing the buildup of deposited paraffin wax inside. Annular pressure buildup. Gas migration up the annulus. That's right, gas migration up the annulus. You got to look out for that. That is the space between casing strings, a term with which I am not familiar, but it is a known risk during shut-ins, particularly in wells with any cement integrity issues, and we discussed how those can happen. This can create sustained casing pressure, which actually has its own abbreviation of SCP, sustained casing pressure, a serious safety and regulatory concern. And of course, if the safety and regulatory issues are happening in a country where we have no control over anything, like let's say Iran, or no control over anything like say here in the United States, because bribery could be, causing our regulatory scheme to go kablooey at any moment, well, you can see if you live anywhere near any of these wells, whether they're here or in Iran, that's an issue for concern. Wellhead and surface equipment have problems too. Prolonged static pressure loads on wellheads, valves, and it says here Christmas trees, which again I assume is some industry terminology for something that isn't actually a Christmas tree, as you and I might understand it, but something that they call a Christmas tree that's a part of the equipment on a wellhead. Well, prolonged static pressure loads can affect them as well as everything else, and they can cause seals to degrade. Not the or give me a fish seal, but the seals on these wellheads that keep the oil, going where it's supposed to go instead of spraying all over the place. The equipment is generally rated for cycling pressure, not for prolonged static loads. There's a little bit of pressure underneath. You pump out some of the oil, it releases it. Then the well pump goes down again, raises the pressure, pulls up, releases the pressure. Cycling pressure, fine. Prolonged static pressure load, not fine. Reservoir damage. The actual underground reservoir of oil or gas may be damaged. In some geological formations, prolonged shut-ins can cause clay swelling, migration of powdered minerals, called fines, into the well, or loss of permeability, making restart more difficult or reducing the extent of recovery. It means that sometimes some of those oil reservoirs that you've spent all this money drilling and gotten to flow again could either be very expensive, might require drilling all over again, or might foul up the state of the oil as it is. Right? If you get fine particulates in it that make it very difficult to refine later on and therefore less valuable, or maybe you just can't get it out of the ground anymore at all. Water influx. In reservoirs with active aquifers, shut-in wells can experience water encroachment into the productive zone, which sounds like it's a bad thing. All of these issues make restarts more difficult over time. Equipment needs to be repaired or replaced. Clogged pipes need to be cleared. Damaged linings need to be checked. Restarting has to progress in stages. to clear blockages and avoid sudden shocks. So it's not just, why don't you just turn on the oil all over again? Well, why don't you just? Well, there's an answer for that. That is, A, it's cuckoo, and B, that is not how this works. And so, in the end,
you lose. Good day, sir.
Got all the sound effects there, but not how this works is the key issue for all of this, right? You can't just restart production. Everything's gotten plugged up while you were waiting. And not only has everything gotten plugged up, it needs to be fixed gradually and slowly. And it's one thing if you have one well that has this problem. But if all of your wells, thousands and thousands and thousands of them, have these problems, then repairing them becomes a real logistical nightmare. And if they've also been blown up in the meantime, that doesn't help either. Hi, it's me, David. I mostly do the commercials around here, too. Have you ever thought you'd like to do a show like this one, but a lot shorter? Maybe without necessarily waking up early each day, or even, let's say, working at it each day? Well, now you can, sort of, and by now, I mean pretty much any time you want, because what I'm talking about is you recording a news story, sharing an essay, or otherwise contributing your thoughts on these crazy times with the rest of us, and with any digital recording device. Make the show your own, as I like to say. Send me a digital file of your recording, a link to any source material, and a note about how you'd like to be identified on the air at KagroX, that's KAGROX, at gmail.com, and I'll take it from there. Don't worry about those ums and ahs either. I sure don't, but I'll even do my best to edit your submission down into a nice-sounding dispatch from the field. So come on, everybody, make the show your own. Help me prove once and for all that I'm not just imagining this audience. All right, welcome back now to the Kagro in the Morning Show here on Netroots Radio. I want to continue reading this thing from Chris O. Wiki here. Somebody get me a petrologist in here, quick, and tell me whether all of this is really true. It's very truthy sounding. I'll give it that. And I want to share it with you because I have a feeling we're going to start seeing some of this stuff verifiably reported in the days to come. And one, that'll make us feel better about it. And two, that'll make us feel better that we already heard this stuff at some point before everyone else did. We're so lucky. I don't know. I really feel like this is certainly this feels like it's probably got a lot of truth to it. I imagine it's the sort of logistical issue we don't think about, because as long as everything's moving smoothly, and really in a business like oil and gas where it's all about bringing this stuff to market and converting it into cash as quickly as possible, there's probably very little reason to design your systems for stalls like this, even though this has happened like 3 or 4 times over the course of our modern oil producing and oil consuming history. But this is now, I guess, how come they know this happens when you shut in these wells. So we left off by saying, yes, all of these issues makes restarting more difficult, but it, just long-term damage to the equipment regardless. But in particular, restarting is more difficult. Everything needs to be fixed. The clogged pipes need to be cleared. All of the equipment needs to be checked. And it has to happen in stages so that you don't accidentally make things worse by just saying, let's just turn it up to full blast again to catch up on all the production we were missing before. So this also has to be accompanied by extensive safety and regulator checks. So how sure are we that that's going to be done in any country? We can't be sure what's happening in Iran, but at least it's not our problem in terms of local safety. But if it creates a problem in Iran, and even if they get away without having a local safety issue, it damages their ability to bring more oil to the world market. Even if we're not buying the Iranian oil, if we pretend we're not indulging in that, it still will drive world prices up because it's a commodity and there either is or isn't an adequate supply. But in our in the oil and gas production of our alleged allies elsewhere in the Persian Gulf, they'll be experiencing these problems too, not to mention the added problems of surface infrastructure having been destroyed in the war. But here in America, ordinarily we'd say we can't just start things up like that because there are rules and regulations and laws about this because of safety issues, known safety issues, where if we just throw the switch and turn things up to full blast, stuff blows up and people get killed. Normally we say, oh, yes, well, we have laws about that and you just can't do it. As much as we'd like to, you just can't. But we're being run by why don't you just-ists who really, truly are full-on 100% believers in what could go wrong, just turn it on, go full blast, and if it blows up, we'll give you immunity from it. Such corporate-friendly activity and claiming to be able to waive all legal protections and regulatory protections in the interest of making the big, beautiful oil flow throughout America and the world like it's never been seen before, right? He actually wants that to be policy, and it will result in problems. And he will say, really the problem is the environmental crunchy idiots who didn't want this stuff to blow up. Why didn't you want this to blow up? Oil wants to blow up. That's oil. That's the nature of it. You can't change it. We don't know. So back to Chris O here. So all of this has to be accompanied by extensive safety and regulator checks, unless it's just not. Doing this for a single well can be an onerous job. Doing it for thousands of wells simultaneously is an enormous task. The regulatory requirements alone are a huge burden, unless you just waive them. Or, of course, in case, I guess one of the other things we're likely to do in this country is, well, why don't we bring in people that we absolutely don't like and then to do all this dangerous work, and then when it's done, we ship them back out of the country without so much as a how do you do, as they used to say. So, next up, oil production across the Middle East has fallen on an unprecedented scale, or as someone might say, like no one's ever seen before. With infrastructure also suffering major damage from Iranian attacks, while Saudi Arabia and the UAE have been able to use pipelines to export some oil, most is still stuck, and even that which is being sent through the pipelines is being sent, as we know, from out of the frying pan Gulf and into the fire Gulf. And I think I put aside the other day an article that makes exactly that point, and we were going to read it, or I was going to mention it just to reconfirm, like, yes, everyone else is coming around to where we were on that, or at least putting it down on paper now. I'm sure they were there before. So, right, most oil still stuck. There's a little more here, actually maybe even a lot more. Chris continues, as Russia has found in its war with Ukraine, oil storage sites, why don't you just keep the flow going and then we'll put it in barrels and you buy a warehouse and put it there, and then we won't have all these pressure issues. Can you do it? Not so much. Oil storage sites are finite so far and vulnerable to drone or missile strikes. That would be the bigger issue. There simply isn't enough capacity to store all the oil that is being produced, making shut-ins the only alternative. There's nowhere else to keep this stuff but in the ground. We could put it all on SpaceX satellites and leave it in orbit until we need it, and then we turn it on and the oil just rains down and we put out buckets and collect it all. No, not going to work. By mid-March, oil production in the UAE had fallen by half. This alone has reduced global oil supply by 1.5%. The state oil production company, ADNOC, ADNOC, has implemented widespread shut-ins. The Kuwait Petroleum Corporation says that the situation there is, quote, beyond catastrophic. Oh, I didn't know there was anything beyond catastrophic, but this is. Its CEO, Sheikh Nawaf Al-Sabah, says that it will take 3 to 4 months to bring wells back to full production. Why? Well, because of all the things Chris described to us. Iraq has had to implement a particularly large number of shut-ins due to limited available storage and lack of ballast vessels in the Gulf. It is estimated to have had the most severe production cuts of up to 3.3 million barrels per day. Across the Gulf, oil production has fallen by millions of barrels per day. It says here KPLER, like Kepler, but I don't know whether that's correctly rendered or whether there's a letter missing or something in that, and it's just a typo, but KPLER, whatever that may be, estimates that this breaks down as follows. Ready? In Iran, 350,000, is that what we're talking about? KBD, 1,000 barrels per day, maybe? 350,000 barrels per day, not, under normal production levels. Iraq, 3.3 million barrels per day. Kuwait, producing 1.64 million barrels less each day. Saudi-Kuwaiti neutral zone. Have you noticed that, by the way, in the close examinations of all the maps, that there's a weird area between Saudi and Kuwait, which is, I guess, disputed, one of those weird map anomalies that they call the Saudi-Kuwaiti neutral zone, like with the Klingons, I guess. We got to have that as well. 500,000 barrels per day. Why do we care about this weird patch of desert? Because it produces 500,000 barrels of oil a day. Or it's producing 500,000 barrels less than it normally does, at any rate, because of shut-ins. Saudi Arabia experiencing 2.6 million barrels per day less production. UAE 2.05 million. Bahrain 190,000, and Qatar 830,000 barrels per day. By March 20th, according to, and there it is again, KPLER, Kepler, whatever, estimates, production had fallen by a cumulative total of 133 million barrels of oil each day that we're not getting out of that. That's a lot of oil, it seems like. And by the way, can I look up what KPLER is and find an answer here? And it just says Kepler.com, real-time data and intelligence, global trade intelligence. So I guess that's it. Kepler, as how I imagine it's pronounced, even though it's difficult for me to think of what that KPLER. All right. Well, if you were an industry insider or been reading any interesting threads on the internet lately, you probably know. So where else were we going to go with this? Right. 133 million barrels of oil a day missing from the world market as a result of all of this. This was projected to reach 250 million barrels by the end of March, 400 by mid-April, and 600 by the end of April. Wow. Okay. In mid-March, Rystad Energy forecast a worst-case production drop of 6 million barrels per day. That was the worst case, was the idea. As of March 31st, the drop stood at 7.2 million rather than the worst case 6 million, significantly worse than the worst case scenarios. This is leading to a progressive global shortage of oil. Oh no, exactly what you don't want when it's already $112 a barrel. I think that I may have misunderstood some of the units that we were talking about here, but when he was saying earlier, like the last post, that by March 20th, according to Kepler estimates, production had fallen by a cumulative total of 133 million barrels of oil. That can't be per day. It's how much has not been produced since, I assume, the beginning of the crisis, which will date to about end of February, so all of March. 133 million barrels of oil that should be out there relieving supply problems and lowering prices are just not there. On a per day basis, they said, right, production would drop by 6 million barrels per day, worst case, but oops, we were wrong. Well, 7.2 million per day already. The world is facing a ticking time bomb. And remember, we hate those ticking time bombs, and we're willing to torture people, allegedly, to dispose of ticking time bombs. The world is facing a ticking time bomb from its supply of oil, according to a briefing note from J.P. Morgan. Physical scarcity of oil is about to unfold across the globe, spreading sequentially through April from east to west, causing major economic disruption worldwide. Oh no. And they've circled a lot of the areas that will feel the pinch most acutely. And we're in one, but I guess when they say felt from east to west, I think we're talking about East Asia first. Then I guess Australia, I don't know whether they're in their own circle here. I don't know whether timing wise that will coincide with East Asia or whether we go around the world and then do them last, or we begin with Australia. I don't know. I could probably enlarge this map and see whether there are in fact dates. Yeah, sure. Why don't we? Somehow basically we'll say it this way. East Asia, China, Eastern India, all of Southeast Asia, the Philippines, etc. Looks like most deliveries stop. I guess when we're talking about delivery of, or is it crude oil or refined petroleum? But anyway, most deliveries stop by about now, April 1st. So they'll be able to tell us whether or not that is happening. Although most deliveries for East Africa appear to stop between March 20th and April 1st, and they are to the west of East Asia. But anyway, about April 1st, we should be hearing about stoppages and deliveries for all of East Asia and all of East Africa. For all of Europe, most deliveries will stop by about April 10th. By the United States, estimation by about April 15th, which is terrific and coincides with our tax day. The deliveries should stop. And Australia somehow ends up being last, most deliveries stopping April 20th. And that, I don't know whether that's because most of those deliveries are already en route and it takes the longest to get to Australia from the Middle East. Perhaps that's it. All right. Well, anyway, I'll continue on with the reading here because there's still more. Due to the damaging effect of shut-ins, it will take a long time, even longer than we think, for production to be restored fully. Rystad's Aditya Saraswat says, if and when the crisis reaches an end, that's a good point, it will take months to restore operations to pre-conflict levels, with questions of infrastructure integrity and a recalibrated geopolitical order still at play. And I think we're going to reach the end here finally where it says, realistically, this means that even if the war ended tomorrow, everyone's favorite metric, even if the war ended tomorrow and the Strait of Hormuz was immediately reopened, I would asterisk that, oil shortages, disruptions to supplies, and high fuel prices are likely to persist through most of the rest of 2026. How do you like that? Well, there are sources offered for all of this. A table of 1, 2, 3, 4. Reuters report, CNBC report, Kepler, as we mentioned as a link, and Reuters for all of this information. I don't know whether they will verify all of the analysis that Chris has added on top of all of this, but there you go. So expect it to last, well, let's put it this way, through the midterm elections anyway. And as Greg said, very unique, I think, among all commodities and all consumer goods is gasoline, that you don't even have to be in the market for it. Even if you are driving an electric car and laughing at everybody else who's paying for gas, and you probably should be, in order to keep it funny, you keep watching. There's nothing you can do. Driving the highways, there are enormous signs looming over the highways telling us what the price of gas are. And remember that these are people advertising what they think is the most attractive and lowest price. This is how much gas costs, and you really can't avoid seeing it. And there's really certainly no other commodity or consumer good where that is so much on display. You don't even need those stickers that'll say, I did that on the pumps. Everyone can see them wherever they go. That's a very good point. I want to reiterate that one. All right, let's see. Other things that I wanted to share with you, and we're winding down here today. Do we want to? No, I'll skip this one for now. This one I think needs to go on the record. I guess we've probably been anticipating this for a while, but here it is, as reported by the New York Times. Trump has discussed firing Attorney General Pam Bondi. Just another one of those things that put in the file. Everything Trump touches dies, and they deserve it too. All of these things that let Trump touch them, I suppose. Well, in the early days, of course, there were people that were not so much letting, but were involved in being touched by Trump who don't deserve it. But these days, it's a volunteer situation. Pam Bondi asked for this nonsense, and now she's going to get what's coming to her. Who would replace her? Matt Gaetz is already too crazy and too controversial, and already was too crazy and too controversial. This was before he started talking about breeding aliens and humans in secret facilities around the country. So who would it be? This is a bit of a surprise, I think. President Trump has not made a final decision, and he never makes final decisions, but he has floated the idea of replacing Ms. Bondi with guesses? Elon Musk? No. He's promoting from within. Still no guesses. Probably Lee Zeldin, the EPA administrator. Who? What? We forgot all about that guy. Yeah, he's there. He's a cabinet member. You forgot. We don't see him much. And I don't know. I guess his sessions at the support group, the Donald Trump support groups, the cabinet meetings where they all praise him and tell him he's great and he's doing a good job. He just must not be putting out good stuff because we don't see clips of him. I don't see clips. I'm not paying attention to clips of him. Anyway, Pam Bondi has been doing her damnedest to say how awesome he is. And, well, just like Kristi Noem, maybe too much of a try-hard, and then just ultimately Donald Trump just does not believe in women, period. So I guess it's not going to work. But it's going to take some time to shut in Pam Bondi, I guess. Tyler Pager is reporting the story. It is an April 1st byline or dateline, so take it with a grain of salt, but I don't think they were doing the April Fool's thing here. President Trump has discussed firing Attorney General Pam Bondi in recent days as he grows frustrated with her leadership at the Justice Department and her handling of the Epstein files. According to 4 people familiar with the conversations, Mr. Trump has floated the idea, he's floating all sorts of things, believe me, but now floating the idea of replacing Ms. Bondi with Lee Zeldin, the administrator of the Environmental Protection Agency, the people said. They spoke on condition of anonymity to discuss private deliberations by the president. But is there any such thing as a private deliberation by the president? He just muses aloud about that. Good question. I don't know whether they'll address it at any point. Whether will Lee Zeldin remain EPA administrator and take over the job as acting attorney general only and do the Marco Rubio thing? Marco Rubio, I think, is at this point at capacity. They can't also make him attorney general. We'll wait and see, I guess. Who knows? It's going to take him a while to get the situation straightened out and line up the ducks so that he can finally fire Bondi. And I hope she'll be angered by it and embittered and spill the beans on something, but I don't think so. She may think there's something in the future in it for her somehow. Mr. Trump has not made a final decision, and Ms. Bondi's allies pointed to photos of her and the president traveling to the Supreme Court on Wednesday to dispute the notion that the president is planning to fire her. I don't think that really does anything, but she may yet be bribed to go along with the plan quietly and there's really no job he can offer her that would make her happy, unless a running mate for my third term. I don't know. Who knows? But he may cut her into a crypto deal or something like that, and that would probably be enough to satisfy her. Attorney General Pam Bondi is a wonderful person, and she is doing a good job. Oh, that was Mr. Trump. So Pam Bondi is a wonderful person, and she's doing a good job. See how much less credible it sounds just in his voice? Mr. Trump said in a statement to the New York Times, a spokesman for Ms. Bondi referred to Mr. Trump's statement. Oh, boy. But the president has been souring on Ms. Bondi for months. Among his top complaints is Ms. Bondi's handling of the Epstein files, which is amazing because she's done everything he's asked, which has become a political liability for Mr. Trump among his supporters. He has also complained about her shortcomings as a communicator and vented about what he sees as the department's lack of aggressiveness in going after his foes. Lack of aggressiveness. Wow. That, according to people who have spoken to him recently and held their breath while doing it. The House Oversight Committee voted to subpoena Ms. Bondi last month to compel her to testify about the Justice Department's investigation into Mr. Epstein, the disgraced financier who died by suicide, maybe, in jail, definitely, while awaiting trial, maybe, on sex trafficking charges in 2019. Her deposition is scheduled for April 14th, though she and Representative James R. Comer of Kentucky, the committee's Republican chairman, have been working together to avoid the deposition, even though it's unclear whether it is legally possible to withdraw a subpoena. But I guess if the interested parties just simply say, we don't care anymore, the courts aren't going to do too much about it. But maybe the firing is designed to prevent her from testifying. Well, she's not the Attorney General anymore. Well, we were interested in when she was. So, thanks. But anyway, Mr. Trump has also said the Justice Department under Ms. Bondi has not moved aggressively enough to prosecute his political enemies, which is crazy to say. In September, Mr. Trump wrote a social media post directed at Ms. Bondi in which he grumbled about the lack of indictments. That's true. We remember that one, though it was supposed to be a private message, right? During his second term, Mr. Trump has been hesitant to oust members of his cabinet after his first term was marred by frequent firings and narratives of staff chaos. Some officials said Mr. Trump's posture had shifted in recent weeks, buoyed by the smooth process of removing Kristi Noem from her role as Secretary of Homeland Security and the straightforward confirmation process of Markwayne Mullin to replace her. Mr. Trump has sent mixed signals about Ms. Bondi over the last year. He's complained about her privately, arguing that she has not been effective enough in pursuing his priorities. He's been particularly angry about the Justice Department's failure to win cases involving his political opponents, including against the former FBI Director James B. Comey and the New York Attorney General Letitia James. At the same time, Mr. Trump has praised her loyalty in public and speaks with her often. If Mr. Trump does fire Ms. Bondi, officials said, he has not made a final decision about who should replace her, though he has discussed elevating Mr. Zeldin. Mr. Zeldin, a former Republican congressman from New York who unsuccessfully ran to be his state's governor, has been one of Mr. Trump's most reliable foot soldiers. I didn't even realize. I mean, he's rarely being criticized by him in ways that reach our ears, so maybe he is most reliable. Or Trump has no idea who he is. As the administrator of the EPA, charged with ensuring the protection of human health and the environment, Mr. Zeldin has made it his mission to promote Mr. Trump's vision of energy dominance, in case you thought they would be maintaining any wells with an eye toward compliance with safety regulations here in the United States, or anywhere we manage to, quote-unquote, take over and take the oil from Iran or wherever else, or Venezuela for that matter, if you think that we will enforce American-style safety regulations there. Oh, I doubt it. Anyway, I don't know that Lee Zeldin would have much to do with it because the EPA's jurisdiction, I don't think, covers the rest of them. But he's our secret weapon, Mr. Trump said of Mr. Zeldin in February at a White House event promoting the coal industry. There's still a coal industry? Adding, he's getting those approvals done in record-setting time. Representatives for the EPA did not immediately respond to a request for comment. That is the end of the reporting. We don't know how serious it is. We don't know if Lee Zeldin would occupy both positions. I'm sure that Trump is out of ideas for who to use in the Attorney General slot from outside of the administration. He's promoting from within because I don't think he believes that he's able to get any more cabinet nominations through the Senate. He barely, made it work with, barely, and by historical standards. Normally, when you nominate a senator to something like that, the senators all come out for their colleagues, and there's very little opposition. So he was barely able to make it work with Markwayne Mullin, and that's about the dumbest guy he had to go with. I mean, I guess other than making like Tommy Tuberville or I don't know who's the next dumbest person that they can pick from the Senate, but Attorney General, well, that'll be a tall order. All right, time for us to wrap up and get out of here for the day. Who knew we were going to spend so much time on learning about the logistics of oil wells and oil drilling, or rather, in this case, oil not drilling, but pumping, but not pumping either. So you get the picture. All right. That's what makes the show interesting for me. Hope it made it interesting for you as well. We got much more to cover on the rest of the week. Oh, and we really should get around to the weird intrigue surrounding the exit of Kristi Noem from the cabinet, and the weird speculation that the odd stories that have developed and been reported by some of the tabloid papers here and abroad about Kristi Noem's husband, Brian, and what he might have been up to during all of this time that everyone was just watching Kristi Noem openly living with Corey Lewandowski and wondering what happened with his husband. And I guess now we're beginning to find out why they might not have been as happy together in married life. And hey, I can understand that. But, only because, look, they seem to be going their separate ways. Okay, not an issue, but a tabloid issue anyway, because there was some salacious details to it. But what's really interesting is the theory being floated, and I think Marcy Wheeler actually among those perhaps entertaining this theory, that perhaps all of this release about damaging information about Kristi Noem is coming from the Stephen Miller camp. As she was making her exit from the cabinet, it seemed likely that she was going to spill the beans and let everybody know that it was Stephen Miller driving the bus that got her fired.
You have been listening to Kagro in the Morning with David Waldman.
All right, well, that wraps it up for Thursday. Time now to hand things over to Justice Putnam for the West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. Starting off in his top line, let's see, Trump has failed to explain his little journey to Iran. He'll have lots more to say about that crazy-ass speech from last night, plus more from around the country and around the world, as you know. See you tomorrow.